He transformed this rude and mannerless girl and fell in love with her, but in the end, she ditched him for her first love. Do you think he will ever regret changing her? Grab your popcorn and let's dive in. Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today, we're talking about a captivating Nigerian movie that's more than just entertainment. It's packed with valuable lessons you won't want to miss. So, let's get into it. The movie begins with Mr. Benson, a driver for Mr. Harrison. During a discussion about the struggling economy, they brainstormed ways to help the less privileged. Mr. Benson suggested a solution that impressed Mr. Harrison as they drove home. Once home, Mr. Benson spoke with his son, Destiny, who had called him. Meanwhile, Mr. Harrison went to his room, where his daughter, Princess, entered unannounced and startled him. Troubled by Princess's academic failures, Mr. Harrison called her professor, who confirmed that the school had expelled her due to multiple carryovers, despite Mr. Harrison's significant contributions to the institution. Frustrated, Mr. Harrison confronted Princess, reminding her of the family's plan for her to graduate with good grades and eventually take over his company. The next morning, Princess's boyfriend visited her and scolded her for her untidy appearance and poor behavior. She blamed the maid for her state, but he reminded her of her promises to change. He also expressed his disappointment with her lack of seriousness in school, emphasizing that no man would accept her behavior if she didn't improve. Tired of his criticism, Princess dismissed him from her room. Later that day, Princess's friends visited her with plans to go shopping and partying. They went shopping immediately, enjoying their time together. The following day, Princess approached her father for more money, despite him already sending her 800,000 naira. He cautioned her about managing money wisely, but reluctantly sent her more, warning that it would be the last time. That evening, Princess hosted a small party at home with her friends. When her father returned, he was furious and shouted at her friends, causing them to flee. He reprimanded Princess about her studies, urging her to take them seriously. However, she stubbornly insisted on studying abroad and stormed off. 2 days later, Princess went on a date with her boyfriend, Ken, at a restaurant. Ken earnestly advised her to change her ways, but she resorted to emotional blackmail. Their conversation was interrupted when one of Princess's friends arrived. Ken, visibly annoyed, asked to speak with Princess outside, where he criticized her friends, calling them a bad influence. He gave her an ultimatum: choose between her friends and him. Offended, Princess returned to her friends, ignoring the impact on their relationship. Her friends consoled her and shared their own problems. Kachi mentioned her sick mother in the hospital, needing 100,000 naira. Moved, Princess promised to help and transferred money to Kachi and the rest of her friends, who also shared their financial needs. Meanwhile, Mr. Benson drove Mr. Harrison home. Mr. Harrison expressed his growing frustration and worry about Princess's behavior. Mr. Benson advised him to withdraw some of her privileges to teach her a lesson, which Mr. Harrison considered. He later asked Mr. Benson for a favor. That weekend, Princess woke up in her messy room and went downstairs to ask the maid about her father. The maid informed her that Mr. Harrison had traveled and, under his orders, refused to serve Princess. Furious, Princess insulted and threatened to fire the maid before attempting to call her father, who didn't answer. She turned to her friends for help, but they were unable to assist. Frustrated and embarrassed, she resorted to ordering food but struggled to pay. Humiliated by the delivery man's comments, she went to the kitchen to prepare tea, a task she considered beneath her. The next day, Mr. Benson and his son, Destiny, had a conversation at the living room. Mr. Benson noted that Dr. Harrison's absence meant Destiny would need to wait before taking up certain responsibilities. Destiny expressed his willingness to wait, though he voiced frustration about Princess's behavior. However, he quickly adjusted his tone, respecting his father's patience. Later that night, Princess was on a call with her father. She apologized, but he firmly stated that Mr. Benson would explain everything to her the next day. Irritated, Princess dismissed the conversation as a joke, but her father ended the call, leaving her frustrated. The following morning, Princess ordered the maid to prepare her a meal, but the maid refused, citing Mr. Harrison's instructions. Shortly after, Mr. Benson arrived and informed Princess about her father's decisions. Princess responded rudely, showing no intention of cooperating. In the living room, Mr. Benson conveyed Mr. Harrison's instructions. He would monitor Princess's spending, and she would have to resume her schooling. Enraged, Princess tore up the paper containing the instructions and stormed off to her room, only to later confirm the message directly with her father. The next day, Princess attempted to leave the house, but Mr. Benson refused to give her the car keys, following Mr. Harrison's orders. She reacted by treating him like a servant, ordering him around. Mr. Benson complied out of respect for her father, but endured her extreme rudeness. During the drive, he offered her advice, but she mocked him. On their way back, Princess insisted they stop the car. When Mr. Benson refused, she grabbed the steering wheel, causing a struggle. She demanded the keys to buy alcohol. In the chaos, she accidentally pushed Mr. Benson, injuring his waist. Panicked, she managed to get him home. At home, Princess showed no remorse for her actions. The maid urged Mr. Benson to report the incident to Mr. Harrison. While Princess begged him not to, Destiny arrived and asked what had happened. Mr. Benson lied to protect her, claiming it was nothing serious. Relieved, Princess thanked him as Destiny took his father home. Later, after taking his medication, Mr. Benson informed Destiny that he could temporarily take over his duties at work since Mr. Harrison had approved it. Mr. Benson also decided to stay in the guest room. Though Destiny was unhappy with the arrangement, he reluctantly agreed. The next day, Princess continued her rude behavior toward Destiny as he drove her to her destination. She insulted him when the car hit a pothole, but he maintained his calm until they got home. There, she arrogantly ordered him to complete his tasks, acting like a boss. At the house, after Destiny dropped off the groceries, Princess kept ordering him around, calling him names. Finally, he stood up to her, explaining that he was educated and wouldn't tolerate being treated like a servant. Frustrated, he tried to leave, but she grabbed his arm in anger. He sternly warned her to stop her behavior. That night, Princess called her father to complain and begged him to return. However, he instructed her to begin cooking lessons with the maid and hung up before she could argue further, leaving her even more upset. The next day in the kitchen, while the maid was teaching Princess, she accidentally splashed onion juice into her eyes, forcing her to run out. Later, when Destiny was cooking, Princess was surprised by his skills. After he left, she quickly ate his leftovers, acting as though she hadn't eaten in days. On the second day of cooking lessons, Princess tried making jollof rice, but left the kitchen, complaining she was too tired to continue. Outside, Destiny accidentally splashed water on her while washing the car. Despite his apologies, Princess lashed out, called him names, and stormed back to her room in frustration. That evening, Destiny brought her food to apologize again. Though she pretended to reject it, she accepted because she was hungry. The next day, Princess sneaked into Destiny's room, searching for the credit card he used to buy things for her. She didn't know the PIN, so she was unsure how to proceed. Destiny caught her, but she quickly covered up, claiming she had come to forgive him for splashing water on her before leaving the room. At the dining table, while eating with Destiny, Princess proposed a deal. He would cook for her, and she would pay him out of her allowance. Destiny refused despite her attempts to persuade him. Later, Princess recorded a video of herself studying with the maid's help and sent it to her father. She called him afterward, and though he was initially impressed, he asked her to summarize what she had studied. Unable to answer, she complained, and her father abruptly ended the call. Frustrated, she later begged Destiny for the leftover food he had cooked, and he reluctantly allowed her to have it. That night, Destiny was studying to improve his CV when Princess walked in, surprised by his diligence and academic results. Assuming he had bought his grades, she questioned him, but Destiny explained how he prioritized time and worked hard to achieve his success. When he asked about her academic level and CGPA, she faked a cough and ran out of the room, avoiding the conversation. The next morning, Destiny was doing push-ups when Princess walked in, ready to go out. Embarrassed, Destiny asked her to wait outside while he quickly got ready. On their way in the car, Princess admitted that she had been watching him closely and pleaded with him to teach her how to cook. After much persuasion, Destiny agreed on the condition that she would speak kindly to her father and his father. She agreed, and they began to get along. From that day, Destiny started teaching Princess how to cook. Over the course of a week, she gradually learned and began cooking for herself. Destiny also called his father to check on him, and they discussed various things. Mr. Benson insisted that Destiny take good care of himself. Meanwhile, Princess tidied up her room all by herself and felt happy and accomplished when she saw the results. Later that evening, while fetching water, Princess noticed Destiny reading at the dining table. She asked why he wouldn't rest, and he quoted his father, "When one stops learning, he or she is gone." He also mentioned that a good child takes their parents' words to heart. Reflecting on his advice, she left. The next day, as Destiny was studying, Princess asked to join him. He agreed, and she promised to cook him a meal, proudly stating that she hadn't abandoned her cooking practice. Destiny eagerly anticipated the meal she would prepare. That night, they studied together, but Princess couldn't stay awake. Destiny joked with her and advised her to take a nap. The following morning, they made pancakes together. Princess was so excited that she helped clean flour off Destiny's nose after he accidentally smeared some. They nearly kissed, but the maid interrupted, greeting them and breaking the moment. Later, while studying in the living room, Princess received a call from her father. She shared updates about her studies and mentioned an interesting topic she had been reading about. Impressed, her father promised to visit soon. Encouraged, she continued her studies. The next day, the maid asked Destiny about his father, remarking that it had been a while since she'd seen him. She also revealed that Princess's reckless behavior had caused Mr. Benson's waist injury. Shocked, Destiny confronted his father and expressed anger that he had lied and allowed Destiny to befriend someone responsible for his injury. He then resolved to leave. Not long after, Mr. Harrison returned from his trip. Princess warmly welcomed him, and Destiny, though upset, came to greet him. Mr. Harrison expressed gratitude for Destiny's assistance and asked about his father. Princess and her father then went inside to share quality time together. Destiny vented his frustration to his father, stating that he didn't want to work for Mr. Harrison anymore because it meant dealing with Princess. However, Mr. Benson encouraged him, pointing out that Princess had changed because of him and deserved another chance. Meanwhile, Mr. Harrison thanked Mr. Benson for raising a son as diligent as Destiny. He mentioned how peaceful life had been during his trip and was about to discuss Destiny's job search when a call interrupted him. Later, Mr. Harrison was amazed by a meal Princess cooked. He commended her, and she apologized for her past behavior. She promised to continue her studies and expressed a desire to accompany him to work. Proud of her transformation, Mr. Harrison shared a joyful moment with her. That same day, Princess called Destiny to check on him, but he was cold and ended the call abruptly. Undeterred, she showed her father Destiny's CV and academic results. Impressed, Mr. Harrison promised to recommend him to his HR team for a job. When Princess visited Destiny to share the good news, he dismissed her efforts, stating he preferred finding a job himself. When she pressed him for a reason, he became angry and accused her of causing pain to his father. Ignoring her apologies, he ordered her out of his house. Princess began reflecting on the positive changes Destiny had brought into her life and felt deeply hurt. The next day, she apologized to Mr. Benson, who had already forgiven her. She promised to maintain a good attitude moving forward and expressed her gratitude before heading inside. Meanwhile, Destiny received an email from Mr. Harrison's company offering him a job with an official car and a salary of $800,000. Overjoyed, he called his father, who was initially surprised but supportive after Destiny reconsidered his earlier decision. Destiny visited Mr. Harrison the next day to express his gratitude. Mr. Harrison praised him for his qualifications and encouraged him to keep up the good work. Princess also joined them, apologizing to Destiny and thanking him for all he had done. They reconciled, expressed their love for each other, and decided to go on a date to celebrate. At the restaurant, they enjoyed their time together until Ken, Princess's old friend, stopped by to greet her. Princess reassured Destiny that Ken was just a friend, and they continued their meal. The next day, Princess was surprised to see her friends at her house, well-dressed and ready for a party. They mentioned Kachi's birthday and suggested they go together. Angry, Princess reminded them how they had abandoned her when she needed just 10,000 and dismissed them, calling them names and sending them out. Later, Ken visited Princess unannounced. He apologized for how things had ended between them and complimented her on her changed lifestyle. They shared a heartfelt conversation, but just as they were about to kiss, Destiny walked in, saw the moment, and left angrily. Princess followed him, explaining that Ken was just a friend. Destiny, feeling betrayed, accused her of lying about Ken's role in her life. He revealed that her father had told him about Ken and questioned her feelings for him. When Princess admitted she still cared for Ken, but loved Destiny too, he urged her to choose Ken and walked away. Ken, having overheard the argument, comforted her. This story teaches us the importance of patience, perseverance, and guiding our children with love and discipline. It reminds us never to forget those who supported us when we had nothing, and highlights the power of forgiveness as a path to healing and growth. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more updates on the latest Nigerian movies. See you next time.